Day one of the President's Cup, which comes to the continent of Asia for the very first time. 5 foursomes matches on day one. Jordan Spieth and Dustin Johnson against Denny Lee and Mark Leishman. This was Spieth for birdie at the second to win the hole. Back-to-back birdies for that duo, in fact, and an early 2-up advantage. Mark Leishman at the fourth. Third shot here after Denny Lee had driven it into the water, but watch this one. Oh, baby, would have been some 3. But he lets the international team wiggle off the hook momentarily. But the Americans were firmly in control of this one throughout. It came to 15, and Spieth had 2 putts to win the match. And just cozied that one down the slope to within brush-in distance. Spieth, the reigning PGA Tour Player of the Year, #1 in the world golf rankings as well. He and Dustin Johnson were a tough tandem on day one. That putt was ultimately conceded, and that was that. A 4-3 victory for DJ and Spieth over Lee and Leishman. Matt Kuchar, Patrick Reed teamed up to face Louis Oosthuizen and Brandon Grace. Kuchar at the 8th for a birdie to win the hole and get that match back to all square. Louis Oosthuizen, who withdrew from the Tour Championship, if you recall, with that hamstring injury in Atlanta a few weeks ago, looked very sharp, putted beautifully. In fact, that was a birdie at 9 to send his team 1 up, and then at 16 for par to win the match. Had some pace on it, able to shake that one in there, and a 3-2 victory for the South Africans and the Internationals. Only point on the board for Nick Price's squad on day one, in fact. Rickie Fowler and Jimmy Walker took on Adorun Lahiri and Tong Chai JD. Birdie putt here for Fowler at the 10th. Sent he and the Texan Walker 3 up. Really, they were never pushed, never really threatened. Rickie for another birdie here at 13 to go 4 up at this point. And they just stepped down the throat of the international team, winning on the very next hole. 5 and 4 was the final tally, a point on the board for the Americans. Bubba Watson, JB Holmes against Adam Scott and Hideki Matsuyama. Scott struck a number of beautiful iron shots like this one into the 10th. Problem was Hideki Matsuyama didn't make many putts on the day. He did handle that one though, and they were actually 1 up at that point. JB Holmes just added to this team because of the injury to Jim Furyk. He made an immediate contribution. Birdie there at 15 to send his team 2 up. And then at 16, another chance for a birdie from close to 20 feet. And it would prove to be the decisive blow. Look at the reaction from Bubba in the background. He loved it. His 2 big hitters were a formidable tandem on day one, winning their match 3-2. This one went the distance. Mickelson and Zach Johnson against Day and Bowditch. Watch this from Phil at 13. There's always a threat that he's going to hole out from off the green, and he did there from the bunker to send he and Zach 2 up at that point. And at 15, the par 5, 3rd shot, Zach liked it. Asking it to be good, it was better than good. It was really good. It was great, in fact, and it was nearly an eagle. They would settle for birdie and remain 2 up at that point. This international team was really up against the ropes at 17. It came down to Jason Day needing to birdie just to keep his team alive and extend the match. How often has that man done that over the last few months? So this was going the distance. We're headed up 18. To see if the international team could scrape out one final half point perhaps, but not after this shot. 7-iron in hand. After a blistering drive from Mickelson. And that put the finishing touches on the final point of the day for the American team. A 4-1 advantage for Jay Haas's troops heading into day 2 of the President's Cup on Friday. And there's your air times for Friday sessions.